Coming up on the Monday edition of Carolina Week.
Chancellor James Measer stresses the importance of global outreach in his State of the University address.
And a former Daily Tar Heel writer has stirred up quite a national controversy.
And in sports, there wasn't any magic under the lights at Kenan Stadium this time for the Heels. Find out just what was missing from another big upset.
Plus a look at your Carolina Week 4-day forecast.
All that and more, Carolina Week starts now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening. You're watching the September 19th edition of Carolina Week. I'm Shaheen Sayal.
And I'm Tara Higgerson. Chancellor James Measer plans to make Carolina more of a world player. Whit Walker joins us in the studio live to tell us more about the State of the University address. Whit?
Tara, the Chancellor focused on how Carolina can prepare students to survive in a global economy.
Measer's speech Thursday afternoon dealt with the need for UNC and its students to keep a constant eye on the global marketplace as it develops and rapidly expands to compete with the United States. Measer spoke from personal experience and talked about his recent trip to Southeast Asia.
The job loss we are now experiencing to China and India is not just low-paying, semi-skilled manufacturing jobs, but high-paying, knowledge-based technology sector jobs.
UNC's efforts to compete on the international scene are demonstrated in the expansion of study abroad programs and the construction of the Global Education Center. Measer related an anecdote from Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat, that he felt all Tar Heels could relate to.
Most of us can remember when the United States Olympic team was preeminent. We sent our best college athletes and won easily. The 2004 American team, made up of NBA stars, lost to Puerto Rico, Lithuania, Argentina, and came home with a bronze.
Several Carolina students agreed that addressing the worldwide market is key.
That was really important to address the fact of globalization and not be sort of defensive towards it, but instead being proactive.
It seems really important that North Carolina as a state wakes up to globalization. I think it's great that Chancellor Measer really wants the university to be a part of that.
So Tara, whether Carolina students are studying here in Chapel Hill or half a hemisphere away, the university is trying to prepare them for all that the world has to offer.
Whit Walker live in the studio. In his speech, Chancellor Measer also mentioned his plans for Carolina North, the university's future satellite research campus. One group says it has a better idea and has come up with a plan of its own. The Horace Williams Airport is the future site of Carolina North. But the Village Project, a local nonprofit group, has a different design for the site. The group's design calls for more housing and less parking than the university's plan. Compared to that plan, the Village Project's design calls for only 1/3 the parking spaces, but 4 times as many residential units. It would be a community in which people could live, shop, study, and work. Board member Patrick McDonough says the self-sufficient community would still be a vital part of the town.
We don't see it as a separate town within a town. We see it as more of a neighborhood within a town, and I like that analogy because it reminds us that we're all here together, the university, the towns, and each other.
The university hasn't finalized any plans about Carolina North yet.
In addition to preparing the university for a new role, Chancellor Measer also has a new job for himself. The FBI appointed Measer to the National Security Higher Education Advisory Board on Thursday. He'll help to provide vital information about the culture of university life. The advisory board also monitors research activities funded by federal grants. Well, from advisory boards to editorial boards, UNC is once again in the national spotlight, this time because of what one student wrote in the Daily Tar Heel. In last Tuesday's edition of the DTH, Jillian Bandies wrote a column about racial profiling. The column caused a lot of controversy. In one quote, Bandies said, "I want all Arabs to be stripped naked and cavity searched if they get within 100 yards of an airport, and I want all Arabs to get sexed up like nothing else." Many people were offended, and some of the people Bandies interviewed say they were misquoted.
She just took them, strings and lines, and strung them together, and we talked for over an hour. You know, I can't believe she put them back to back. She put them in different contexts to be different. And you know what I'm saying? She wrote the whole article the way she could have wrote it, the way she wanted to write it. Just don't put me agreeing with what you say.
A DTH editor fired Bandies, saying she practiced unethical and inaccurate journalism by misrepresenting what her sources meant. Jillian Bandies joins us now in the newsroom. Welcome, Jillian.
Hi, thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks, Jillian. DTH opinion editor Chris Coletta said you misled your sources about the subject of your story. Was this the case?
No, I strongly don't believe that I had misled my sources in any way. When I first approached them, I said I was writing an article both on 9/11 and racial profiling, and that I wanted an Arab UNC student's perspective on that. And you know, that's exactly what I did. If you look at my article, a good fourth of what I wrote was about 9/11, and my topic did gravitate towards racial profiling. And you know, even if I was wrong and didn't say anything about what I'd been writing, they should have, you know, had some kind of understanding from the context of my questions. You know, that's not to say I don't regret some of the language that I used. You know, I feel as though I have somewhat disrespected people who don't deserve any disrespect, but at the same time, what I did not cross any, you know, journalistic ethical boundaries.
So, Jillian, do you think that the DTH was justified to fire you?
Of course not. I mean, the grounds on which I was fired were so shaky, it just leads me to believe that there were other factors at play.
Okay, we have a few more seconds left. Are you surprised by the amount of national attention you're receiving?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone could have guessed that it would get this big. You know, I'm glad that attention has been brought to the issue because it's a very important one, and my firing was unjust. So, in a sense, I'm glad for the feedback, but at the same time, you know, I didn't know that this many people would be interested in, you know, a college newspaper.
Jillian Bandies in the studio. Thanks, Jillian. Zeta Phi Beta will be hosting a forum with Bandies at Bingham Hall Tuesday. We'll have follow-up coverage on Wednesday.
The purpose of Constitution Day, observed on Monday, is to remind us all of the rights that we often forget. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of expression are the rights UNC students couldn't go without. But students don't often think about the powers the Constitution gives the president. With President Bush making Supreme Court nominations, the Constitution Day takes on added significance. Law professor Eric Mueller helped plan a panel discussion on Monday night about the Supreme Court confirmation process.
This is an event that we will have to celebrate every year under the federal regulations, but it turns out this year to be an especially auspicious time to commemorate the Constitution's signing because we have 2 vacancies on the United States Supreme Court, which is a very rare occurrence. To have 2, frankly, 1 is a rare occurrence, but to have 2 at the same time is exceedingly rare.
The Constitution affects our everyday lives as individuals and as a society.
Chapel Hill police now have a more visible presence on campus. The police department recently opened a substation on West Franklin Street in the University Square Plaza. The substation is on the backside of the shopping center, right by Granville Towers. Lieutenant Chris Blue says this location is a great place for the substation, with plenty of parking and easy access for students on campus. He says many people have already come by to check it out.
Who work out of this space have told me that there's an awful lot of foot traffic that finds its way in here just to ask a question, ask directions, visit for a minute. It's been a great space for us.
The substation has been used for about a month, but it officially opened last week. They're down to only $3 a gallon.
And that cheaper price is still putting a squeeze on some Carolina students. That story in 60 seconds.
Excuse me, do you guys get tested for HIV?
Tested for HIV?
No way, man, that's just not where we're at right now.
It's just about us and our music.
What you doing to me? What you doing to me?
Mom tells me to eat broccoli, carrots, apples, blueberries, strawberries, green beans.
I like to eat oranges. They have vitamin C.
I like chicken and turkey.
It gives you protein.
I like to drink lemonade, milk, because Because milk makes you be strong. A lot of fruits and vegetables make you healthy.
Make good choices so you'll be healthy. And it's good for you.
Healthy living starts early with a wholesome diet and exercise.
Gas prices are still down, but they're still high enough that they have some students down and out. Carolina Week's Hannah Gordola has more.
Sebastian Joy lives in Raleigh and goes to school in Chapel Hill. The price of gas is a real issue for her.
I usually fill up at about when I have a quarter of a tank left, and that's usually probably $40.
Joy drives about 50 miles every day she goes to school. The distance was never a problem until gas prices soared after Hurricane Katrina, and they haven't gone down much since.
That's good. We paid $3.79 a gallon just last week, so this is certainly better than the way it was.
Gas prices dropped to an average of $2.89 in Chapel Hill, a relief for many drivers. But for long-distance commuters like Joy, gas still costs too much. And the high price has them doing whatever they can to conserve.
We're just more conscious about when we drive and using air conditioning when we drive and stuff like that.
According to AAA, last year to fill up this 15-gallon tank cost you about $27. This year to fill up the same tank now costs you $44.25. And for everyday commuter, that means a lifestyle change.
If I am passing by a gas station with lower prices, I'll definitely stop there. And I try and get everything done that I need to get done in Chapel Hill while I'm there instead of driving back and forth.
Joy is looking into carpooling as a money-saving option because it doesn't seem like gas prices will be below $2 anytime soon. In Raleigh, I'm Hannah Gordola, Carolina Week.
Some good news for those of you who commute to work and school.
Getting around the Triangle will get a little easier in 2008. Construction is slated to begin next summer for a commuter train that will run between Durham and Raleigh. A Chapel Hill station is expected to join the regional rail transit system in 2015, but in the meantime, a TTA Express bus will take Chapel Hill residents to Durham to catch the train. Carolina employee Carl Perenio travels from RTP to Durham every weekday and says he'll definitely consider commuting by train.
Take it probably if it was convenient. Depends on how far it is from where I live, and of course how expensive it is. But I think with the way like gas prices are now, it probably would be cheaper than actually driving.
By 2009, the train is scheduled to service 12 stations with stops in Cary, NC State University, and downtown Raleigh. Even with 10 stops, the trip from Durham to Raleigh is expected to only take 45 minutes.
At Tar Heel Town, they say it feels good to be a Carolina fan. It was the Heels' first home football game of the season, and what better place to start off the evening than at Tar Heel Town. Fans of all ages came out to support the Heels. They enjoyed food, music, and all the pregame activities. Nobody was afraid to show their Tar Heel spirit, especially these guys.
On the planet, it means to be fans of the best. Tar Heel born, Tar Heel bred. When I die, I'm Tar Heel dead. Yeah!
After the band played the fight song, kids got to see how gentle Ramses can be, while their parents hoped the Heels wouldn't be gentle towards Wisconsin.
Any spare change, we greatly appreciate it.
Meanwhile, UNC student athletes and volunteers are doing their part to help victims of Hurricane Katrina. At Saturday's game, they collected donations at all gates on behalf of the Red Cross and sold strands of Carolina blue beads for $1 each. Members of the UNC football team have donated more than $10,000, including $3,500 from Coach Bunting.
Well, there's nothing better than whipping up a cold ice cream sundae on a hot summer day. One UNC group decided to use a nutty approach to prepare its tasty treats. Friday, members of the organization Dance Marathon held a contest to see who could build the tallest ice cream sundae. But instead of piling it up in bowls, they used each other. Scoopers heaped on gobs of ice cream, colorful sprinkles, and even added cherries on top. Morale Chair Jillian Willis says the organization is about incorporating fun for a good cause.
Fun helps kids with things that insurance doesn't cover, like kids with cancer patients, we buy them baseball caps, or families that can't pay their mortgage because their kids are in the hospital, and we help them out with stuff like that.
Every year, Dance Marathon's largest fundraiser is their 24-hour dance-a-thon. This year's event will be held in February.
That certainly looked like a very messy but fun event. So, in perfect weather, and we have weathercaster Rob Ellis to join us today.
Yeah, Rob, it looked like there was dense fog this morning, but then it cleared up quickly.
Yeah, it's been cool out there, so actually in the daytime our temperatures have been very high. You might need some of that ice cream on you to cool off a little bit. But I'll have details about your forecast coming up after the break.
"200 years ago, Lewis and Clark set out to discover an all-water route to the Pacific. But what they really discovered in themselves and everyone they encountered are qualities we can still learn from today. As we commemorate the Lewis and Clark bicentennial, we invite you to walk with them at lewisandclark200.org and see what you discover, because their trail winds through us all.
Hi, time now to take a look at your Carolina Week weather for Chapel Hill, the Triangle, and beyond. Let's go ahead and start with the headlines. Starting out, we're going to see a hot start. On Monday, we had temperatures in the low 90s, so the start of the week is going to be warm. By midweek, though, we will see some showers and thunderstorms move into the area. I don't believe these will be very severe, but they may be hit and miss, so keep that in mind as you move out on Tuesday and into Wednesday. But by the end of the week, we're going to see a cooling trend continue, and by the weekend, we should see some cool temperatures. Let's go ahead and start out with the satellite map and see what's happening. You can see over much of the southeast we're actually cool, and if you look down at the very bottom of your screen, this is Hurricane Rita. Actually, it's tropical storm now, but intensifying very rapidly and is forecast to be a hurricane very shortly, if not already. The advisory came out at 5 p.m. This is going to move into the Gulf, and when it does that, it should intensify even more, and that's not very good news for those folks along the Texas and Louisiana coast, as the 5-day forecast does bring it out to that area. Out west, you can see a leftover boundary here, actually going to bring us some storms later in the week, perhaps interacting with some of that heating that we have had over the day. Let's go ahead and take a look at the surface map and you'll see what I'm talking about. This front here, it's a weak boundary, and also you can see some of the interaction with Florida there from Tropical Storm Rita, now a Hurricane Rita. High pressure dominating most of the mid part of the country. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 4-day forecast and see what we can expect for this week. Starting out on Tuesday, those warm temperatures are going to continue, 91 for your high temperature, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a little bit of fog out there, just like we did on Monday morning. Tuesday morning, I would expect the same thing. Our overnight low temperatures are going to be around 67. Here on Wednesday, you can see we've put in some clouds there, and wouldn't be surprised if you saw those showers to pop up all throughout the triangle, so keep that in mind if you're going out. High temperatures, a general cooling trend as we move into Thursday. We'll bump that down from down from Wednesday, 86, and again on Friday we'll knock another degree off, bringing it down to 85, and our overnight lows are going to be about 65. So our temperatures are cooling off and we're making that transition into autumn. It's been quite a nice week. If we can avoid those hit and miss showers, I think we'll be all right. And it's not too cold, so you won't need any of that ice cream that we saw earlier to cool you off. Although it's not a bad idea.
Well, great. Sounds like it's going to be a beautiful week. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
And now sportscaster Heather Catlin joins us now.
Hello. That's right. And I know that we lost the football game. It was kind of a good game, but how do we turn out in the other sports?
That's right. Well, we had some other games, so we had some wins and losses, but mostly wins. That's good. But coming up in sports, goalie Ford Williams only allowed 2 goals all season for the second-ranked Heels. Would he give up any more when nationally ranked Old Dominion came to Fetzer? Find out in just a minute.
Mrs. Abruzzo, I'm Ed McMahon, and we're signing up people for... Yes, I am. Yeah. Miss Murphy, Ed McMahon. We're starting up... No.
Dreams really do come true.
Dinero. No.
Yes,
Ed McMahon, see.
Ed McMahon.
Yes, Ed McMahon. We're having our first
Ed
ever...
McMahon.
Yes. Tuesday night at the high school. We're starting up the neighborhood watch in this area, and here's all the information.
Stevie, get down here, please.
No, it's just
5, 6, 7, 8.
No tango dinero. Neighborhood watch. We're having this neighborhood watch, the first one. Right.
Larry, put some pants on!
I'll come back.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Start a neighborhood watch. It's just one of the many ways you can help make America stronger. To find out how, call or log on for this free guide.
Welcome to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Heather Catlin, and there are only 4 days, 17 hours, 40 minutes, and 35 seconds until kickoff against NC State. But really, who's really counting? Well, last year, a nighttime game meant big victory for the Tar Heels. But this year, it was a different story. Sports reporter John Leggett takes a look at what went wrong.
Was it the defense? The Wisconsin Badgers came into the game averaging over 60 points. The Tar Heel defense only allowed 14. Wisconsin running back Brian Calhoun had been running all over people. The Heels kept him mostly in check. However, he did score both Wisconsin touchdowns. No, the defense did its job. It was the offense that was a problem. Missed opportunities and penalties stalled the Heels' offense all night. It seemed the receivers couldn't catch a cold. Jesse Holly drops an almost perfectly thrown ball for a touchdown. Then when open, the pass by Baker is just too high or too far. And don't even ask about the running game. For the second straight week, the Heels have failed to consistently run the football. A fact not overlooked by the Badgers as they were able to tee off on Baker, almost putting him out of the game for good. Baker continued to play with bruised ribs but was still unable to muster any points. The Heels know they have a tough quarterback. Now they just have to find a consistent running back. In Chapel Hill, I'm John Leggett, Carolina Week Sports.
About the only bright spot on the football field was an appearance by the men's basketball team. Last year's team received their national championship rings at halftime. How sweet it is.
Quentin Thomas, Marvin Williams, David Noel, Rashad McCants, Raymond Felton, Melvin Scott, Jackie Manuel. These are the men's national champions from 2005.
How nice. The only Heels missing were Sean May and Jawad Williams. May underwent minor knee surgery but should be ready for the Bobcats' home opener. Jawad was in San Antonio trying out for the Spurs. The men's soccer team is in a position to contend for a set of their own championship rings. With both teams undefeated, Old Dominion and the Heels were prepared to do anything to keep their winning record. Physical doesn't even begin to describe the game on Sunday. From yellow cards to shaken up Corey Ash, Carolina struggled to maintain its undefeated record. But a first half goal off an assist from Stephen Bickford to Brian Shiver and a second half goal by Ash were enough to carry the Tar Heels to a 2-1 victory. Shriver is glad that the team won, but knows that this game could have easily been a draw like Wednesday's ACC opener.
I felt that we had worked on keeping the lead during practice over the week, and I felt that the guys in the back definitely played amazing, and they kept the score at 2-1, so we were definitely hoping not for a repeat.
7 games, 30 goals scored, 2 goals allowed. For any other women's soccer team, that would have been nothing short of amazing. But for Carolina women's soccer, amazing is business as usual. On Sunday, the Lady Heels scored 4 times in 16 minutes thanks to junior Heather O'Reilly. She was responsible for 1 goal and 2 assists. The Heels beat UAB 4-0 for their second win in the Duke Adidas Classic. Old Dominion came to Chapel Hill ready to fight the third-ranked field hockey team. Throughout the game, Old Dominion constantly pressured the Heels' defense. The Lady Monarchs had 10 penalty corners, but goalkeeper Katie Tron and the defense managed to keep them from scoring. The Heels didn't show much on offense, but huddled together and decided to turn up the heat in the second half. In the 63rd minute, freshman Van Beek scored the only goal of the game. Tron said the defense was key to winning this game.
Gave up more defensive corners than I think we would like to, but we were calm, we stepped out with confidence, and I think that was a big part of how we managed to keep them from scoring.
Carolina's field hockey team played a friendly game against past graduates and coaches early Sunday. The alumni seemed a bit rusty at first, but with pride and bragging rights on the line, the alumni surged in the second half to outlast the current varsity 6-4. The field hockey alumni weren't the only ones who came home to compete against current Tar Heels. The men's and women's cross-country teams competed against former Tar Heels and other teams early Saturday morning. And they're off. The Tar Heel men cruised past ECU in South Florida from the very beginning. Carolina, led by Pablo Durana, took first through third place and scored a perfect 15 points. On the ladies' side, 3 Tar Heel women, led by Megan Kaltenbach, also distanced themselves from the pack, taking the top 4 spots. Now, from the field to the volleyball court, on Friday, the Heels didn't need any help as they beat Rhode Island and Connecticut. But on Saturday, it was a different story. The Heels lost to 20th ranked Arizona. The Heels improved to a 5-4 on the season. Well, guys, as you saw, Matt Baker took a few hard hits. He had x-rays. He did just bruise his ribs, so he will be back and ready to play on Saturday against NC State. But unfortunately, starting linebacker Doug Justice, he broke a bone in his foot, so he unfortunately is out for the season.
Oh, that's very unfortunate news for the Tar Heels. I know we're all looking forward to another season like last year. We had a couple big wins, so we'll just see what the season brings. So thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Well, they say one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Well, how about one university's trash being an undergrad's treasure? We'll explain coming up.
Un día en el bosque las ratas jugaban. Escucha Smokey antes de tratar.
Solo tú.
No juegues con fósforos, no juegues con fuego. No hay nada para tu pobre conejo asustado a un pobre ratón sin casa en que vivir. Si un hermoso bosque es lo que deseas, no juegues con fósforos, no juegues con fuego.
Solo tú puedes prevenir los fuegos en áreas naturales.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
Well, if you're looking to load up on some school supplies, you won't want to miss this.
As Carolina Week's Davina Van Buren shows us, you can find a Carolina bargain right down the road.
It's not quite the day after Thanksgiving at Walmart, but these people know good deals. That's why they're regulars at the UNC Surplus store. The university opens its surplus warehouse to the public every Tuesday and Friday. The university sends its used and overstocked items to the warehouse. After expenses, a percentage of the profits goes back to the school. One group of people you don't see here often is students. Al Jeter manages the warehouse, and he'd like to see that change.
I think that we could provide a pretty good service to them because we have a lot of desks, chairs, and things like that they would need for their dorm rooms.
Filing cabinets like this one usually go for $200 to $300, but at the UNC Surplus store, $30.
There are all sorts of deals, from office furniture, such as these solid wood desks, to copy machines, to laptops, and sometimes even some special sports memorabilia.
We get all the football jerseys basically from the team, and last year we got probably about maybe 200 or 300, and those were really high commodities.
The store has a cash and carry policy, so make sure to clean out your trunk before you come. In Chapel Hill, I'm Davina Van Buren, Carolina Week.
That certainly looks like an awesome deal. I'm glad that I know about it. I didn't even know it was there, and there's some great, school supplies that you can get.
There really are. I definitely need to go check that out at some point soon.
And if you want to check that out, again, you can log on to www.carolinaweek.org for more information. That's going to do it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Have a great night.